Thank you, Homer. Appreciate it. Thank you to the people reaching out, whether you liked it or not. Getting some strong opinions on the Beth Van Dyne interview. Understandably so. Listen, I think I was fair. What you heard is 22 years of me being a talk radio host and hearing the same excuses and you realize we hadn't balanced the budget in over 22 years. Doesn't matter who's in charge, who's in the White House, who's in charge of Congress, who's in charge of the Senate. Just every year we hear the same thing. Well, we got to raise the debt ceiling. We can't default on our debt. Well, this puts us on a path to a balanced budget. I'm serious about this. Is the last time. I'm not doing this again. And then here we are. Just tired of hearing it. And for those of you who's like, I'm never listening to the James Show again. No, that's not one of the options. You come back and you listen every day. I want you to suffer. And plus, if you listen for a couple more weeks, I'll probably change your mind on some of these issues. What's going on at the border? We asked Victor Avila, former ICE agent, back on the James Show. Dude, there has been a lot of immigration news in the last week, so let's get you on the show, Victor.
Absolutely. Great to be back with you, James. I mean, we got immigration issues. We got IEDs killing Americans on the Mexican side. What is this, Iraq? I mean, this is what we've been talking about for a long time, is to inform the people around the country about what the cartels are actually like. Yes, they're foreign terrorist organizations, and I've been one of those that has been advocating for them to be designated, and I'm so glad that they finally are designated as foreign terrorist organizations, because that's what they are. They've been terrorizing not just Mexico, but us, and killing our youth almost at a rate of 300 a day with deadly fentanyl poisonings. This designation, James, is a game changer. You're already seeing the DOD resources, by the way. We already are on the border. We're patrolling Mexican airspace with the permission of Mexico, by the way. A lot of people don't know that. We've got special forces, American special forces, training their Mexican Marine special forces, and we got the drones flying, gathering all the intel. I'm telling you, President Trump is setting the platform. He's setting the ways and the foundation for what I believe is to come, maybe not right away, because we're going to go after their money and their assets, which is what the designation actually does. But the military part, I think, is going to be down the road, and we're going to set it up to maybe first take out these super labs that they have of methamphetamine and fentanyl in Mexico.
All right, let's talk about what happened at Colony Ridge. There was a raid there, and that had already been in the news and on a lot of people's radars, especially those people that listen to WBAP. This was the suspected illegal immigrant community. We found some MS-13 gang members who had been previously deported and whatnot, and it's almost exactly what you expect, kind of a den of thieves.
Absolutely. Colony Ridge is a mess, and believe me, there's a lot more than this. Is just, I think, the beginning. Maybe some of them will see the law enforcement activity that happened yesterday and just self-deport themselves and leave. But we're not going to tolerate this anymore, whether the state of Texas did or not, whatever happened there. The fact is that they had this area. By the way, this area is huge. I've been down there. It is huge. When you drive in there, you got houses that are complete, incomplete, paved roads, non-paved roads. And yes, there's a lot of illegals there. Yes, there's cartel members there, weapons, drugs, sex trafficking in our state of Texas, right outside of Houston. What the heck are we doing? So this activity by Tom Holman yesterday was very much welcomed.
So what happens with that IED situation? I saw the headline. I didn't read the story. Give me details. American
rancher goes over to this Mexican ranch, which a lot of these ranches are on both sides of the border, by the way. And he goes over. He's in his pickup truck with two other people, and he literally drives over an IED. It explodes, kills him and another person. There's a third person in the hospital. An IED, and I got some pictures that from the Mexican media where they're very much aware in Mexico that these IEDs have been placed around the border. There was another takedown and seizing of a bunch of guns and other IEDs and bombs that on the other side in the Sonoran Desert that they sent me. Man, I'm telling you, the cartels are right now. They're getting very desperate. The border's getting sealed, and they still need to bring their drugs across and the people. And they're having a hard time, coming in between those gaps. By the way, those gaps are still there. We still need to seal them, but they're still going to try to smuggle it. And these IED explosion, it really puts you in in a perspective of what we're actually dealing with. Terrorists, because terrorists deal in car bombs, IEDs, and gun belt-felled machine guns and all of that. And this is what we have to think about, because you have to understand the cartels, the way they actually think and operate, so you could actually combat them and take them out.
Well, my plan for putting the cartels out of business is just to legalize all drugs. And I don't mean weed. I mean all drugs. And, that would pretty much put them out of business. That would get rid of around $30 billion revenue stream for them and handicap them more so than anything else. Wouldn't that do a lot to solve some of the cartel violence that we see?
Hey, I love you. I respectfully disagree with that.
Most people do. I just want to get your thoughts on it.
I know. Well, I saw when I lived in Colorado, it was when Colorado was one of the first states that legalized weed. And everybody was so happy, and they thought the weed was all grown. No, you know what happened? Is the weed trafficking from Mexico to Colorado skyrocketed because the cartel said, oh, great, it's legal there, so we get to bring it in there now. And a lot of illegal activity added to that, a lot of problems that a lot of time is not being reported because of the legalization. And that was just weed. I can't even imagine what would happen if you legalize heroin and cocaine and fentanyl.
Well, Bayer and Merck and Pfizer never get in any shooting wars. So I figured it would just be dealt with the way other legal pharmaceuticals are, and some of which are even more addictive than weed.
Probably so, but I don't think we're there yet. I think people want to eliminate the groups that are dealing in these substances,
Victor,
and then we'll go from there.
What happened when we got rid of Pablo Escobar? Did that drug business stop for a second, or did you just move to the next cartel, move to the Cali cartel, move to whoever gets you?
It did move over. It came from Colombia to Mexico, and Mexico took over. And this is where I think we're at a different place. Even when I was a special agent active, this is very different times. You're going to see unprecedented action, I believe, that you have never seen before, because I think now we're definitely not going to tolerate this movement of the death of fentanyl and everything that's happening around, especially the crime.
Okay.
The crime associated with that.
Sorry, we're just running out of time. I just want to put that in the back of your head, because we can go ahead and step up our game against the cartels. We can start drone bombing them. We can start shooting them. We can drop in special forces. But tomorrow, it doesn't matter who you kill out of the cartels. Hunter Biden is still going to want another bag of cocaine, and someone's going to get it to him.
Yeah, we really have to put that supply and demand, and the demand is a big problem. I fully understand that. Let's get rid of that supply to make it harder on demand and help those that need that help within, maybe not Hunter Biden, but someone else.
All right. We'll have to agree to disagree, but I appreciate the work you're doing with the border and keeping us updated. Victor Avila, appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Plus, you got to check out his book. Man, just a summary on his book. He was working the border years ago, lost a partner. It's a terrible story, but very compelling stuff. Victor Avila, regular on the James Show. What do you think? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I promise I'm not trying to disagree with all my guests today. It just kind of comes up. Your thoughts. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. We have the rare measles outbreak in Texas. It started out over in West Texas. A handful of people are coming down with it. And then we have a report of one guy over in Rockwall County. So this is kind of in our backyard now. How do we keep ourselves safe? Let's ask Dr. Fahmy Farah back on the James Show. Welcome back. How you doing? You got measles?
Hey there. Well, thankfully, I don't have measles. And yes, this is very concerning that it's coming so close to home now.
All right. I think I got the measles vaccine when I was a kiddo, so I don't have to worry about it forever, right?
Well, yes. If you're vaccinated, a booster every couple of years is necessary, even for adults.
What? No, I've never had a booster in my life, or at least in adulthood.
You talk to your primary care doctor. There are certain viral conditions where boosters are necessary. So but for the most part, if you've been vaccinated as a child, you are safe.
Wait. So then what are the boosters for? Either I need a booster or I don't. Do I need one?
Yeah, boosters are very, very good, because even though you have some immunity with, when you get it as a child, but that immunity can wax and wane over time. And so that's the reason why boosters are necessary. But even without a booster, you do have some immunity.
All right.
The people that I worry about the most are those who are unvaccinated. And I think that's where the focus is right now is, a lot of parents are choosing not to vaccinate their children. There's a whole anti-vax movement going on, and that's part of the reason why the measles that was gone is kind of coming back.
All right. So how did this get introduced to this community?
Well, just like the pandemic, we live in a very global society right now. So once an outbreak starts anywhere in the world, really, it doesn't take very long for it to travel. And it could have been someone coming from from outside the United States or another state, somewhere far. But point is, it doesn't take very long for it to travel with how global of a community we live in now. And so, especially when it comes to a virus, especially with something like measles, it's very contagious and it spreads easily. It's sometimes airborne, just from a simple sneeze or handshake, you can spread that fairly quickly.
So my children, they're all like grade school age. One of them's in high school. Do I have to worry about them getting the measles?
You do. For the most part, the spread that we're seeing right now, it is in children. So if they're vaccinated, they should be a lot safer. But, it's always better to take precautions like make sure if you're, wearing masks, if you're sick or if somebody is sick nearby, maintain distance, washing hands. All those preventative measures are important.
So is this something that we should just expect to slowly die out and we won't think about it again in a couple months?
That's the hope. But, with something like measles, it can spread. I'm not so sure that it's going to die down within a few months. That's the hope.
Yeah, and we have one death now from measles. That's got to get a lot of people's attention. How do you recognize measles in your own kid?
So some of the beginning symptoms will be very much like any other viral illness. People typically have, fatigue, just body aches, and fever. A lot of times people will start with high fever in the beginning stages of measles, followed by a very typical type of rash. It's like a reddish rash that starts in the facial region, and then it slowly travels down into the neck and the torso, and then the rest of the body. So if you have a combination of those where you're fatigue, feeling bad, body ache, like symptoms, followed by fever, followed by a rash, that's very likely to be measles, especially in the setting of an outbreak, and that does require medical attention.
Well, Dr. Fahmy Farah, you said something earlier, like, you just check out, ask your primary care physician. I hate to just out myself as some sort of caveman here, but I'm 47 and I haven't been to the doctor in my adult life. Does that just horrify you as a medical doctor?
Well, actually, you're not alone in that. Unfortunately, many adults fall under that category. So, and it's not just for measles. I think it's a good idea for you to get regular checkups at least once a year or once every 2 years by your primary care doctor to stay up to date on everything.
But I mean, you say that. I haven't had a regular checkup in 27 years. Like the last time I went to a doctor for a regular checkup, I was playing athletics in college and I had to get a physical. That's literally the last time.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I definitely recommend you to get in with your primary care doctor and get some basic checkups done, like just your routine lab work, just to make sure that your lipid profile, which is your cholesterol levels, are okay, that you're not diabetic, that your thyroid is fine, your kidneys, liver, all of those, they can creep up. A lot of times people don't get symptomatic until pretty late stage. So, and many things are preventable, like heart disease, for example. You may have high blood pressure. High blood pressure doesn't show up with any kind of symptoms. That's why it's called the silent killer. So I definitely recommend you to see your primary care doctor. And to all the listeners, it's very important that you get yourself checked routinely.
That's not very convincing. Don't bring up lipid profiles if you're trying to get me to the doctor. That's not sexy. Here's what I was thinking. We have a sponsor on WBAP, ViaScan. It's one of these clinic. I don't know if they're even technically a doctor, but you go in and they do a bunch of scans on you and zap you with radiation. I was thinking about doing that to make sure, like, my heart wasn't about to blow up or something. Is that legit in your eyes?
Well, To be honest with you, I don't think that's a replacement for a physician checkup because they just do so much more and it's targeted. It's more unique. Every person has different set of risk factors, and so it's individualized care with the doctor, right? Whereas a scan, it's sure, like if you're not going to if you're really opposed to seeing a doctor, that's at least something. It's going to find some things, hopefully, but it's not a replacement for getting your health checkup by your physician.
Well, I don't want to sound like I'm anti-doctor. I'm not opposed to seeing a doctor. I haven't been persuaded to see a doctor. How about that? Where can we find your work, though, if we want to get checked out?
Well, you can find me on www.drfamifarah.com. Also at Bentley Hart. My phone number for the office is 817-720-5185. And we now have 3 clinics. We have one in Fort Worth, one in Dallas, and one in Argyle, all reachable with the same phone number.
Wait, how close is your one in Dallas? Because we're downtown.
I would say within 15-20-minute drive.
Oh, that's not bad. Which one do you usually go to?
I'm at all of them.
Oh, you just rotate between them? Yeah, it's never easy.
I do, yes. My main one is Fort Worth, but yeah, I rotate between the 3.
Dr. Fahmi Farah, thank you very much for tolerating my medical ignorance.
Well, no, you're actually reaching out to many, and I appreciate that.
Thanks again. All right, there she is. And that's Fahmi with an H, Fahmi, and then Farah is Farah. All right, you're going to hear my strong opinions on this measles outbreak, and it's going to come from an angle I don't think you quite expect. But are you worried about getting measles? Are you going to go get a booster? Or are you an anti-vaxxer? What do you think about all this? Why do you think this is happening? 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. We now have 124 reported cases of measles in Texas. Now, most of that is centered around one community in West Texas. We do have a local case here. Rockwall County was reported. And I know you think that, this is going to turn into a vax debate. This is not going to turn into a vax debate. I'm not going to change anyone's mind on here because I have very smart people on both sides that say, of course, vaccines work. Of course, vaccines don't work. Well, the people that get the measles vaccine don't get measles. Well, the incidence of measles had already dropped to almost 0 before the vaccine even came out. Well, the vaccine keeps them from getting it. No, hygiene keeps them from getting it. I'm not doing that. We're not solving that. I'm taking a different angle on this one. Part of this is the reporting. Do you know who the Krasenstein brothers are? They're big influencers on Twitter/X. But he says, Brian says, there are now 124 reported cases of anti-vaxxer fueled measles in Texas. Stop being stupid and putting your kids in danger. Now, I want to let's take a screenshot of this here and save it because the reporting on this, I find super interesting. Can we go back? Can we just go back all the way in time? Just go back all the way to last year. Here's a report in the AP. This is from March 13th, 2024. So almost exactly 1 year ago when 60 people living in a Chicago shelter got measles. 60 people? Oh, that's a pretty big outbreak. You think that would make national news? Why wasn't that headline being shopped around? I know we were kind of busy with the presidential election and Joe Biden cognitive decline and all the fun stuff happening there, but what's the deal? Why didn't we hear about this? Because it was at a shelter for illegal immigrants. That's why. Started out with 8 people in a Chicago shelter, and then 10 infections were reported, and they kept adding to that until they got up to over 60. Now, the shelter they were at houses about 1,900 people, according to this AP report. But you notice it didn't get picked up and put on the headlines and thrown all over your social media feed and talked about on CNN and MSNBC. I don't remember Brian Krasenstein making a post about how stupid these people were for putting themselves in danger by not getting their vaccine. I didn't know it was it an anti-vaxxer fueled outbreak in Chicago? Because that's not what the AP said. Did they blame illegal immigrants like they do? Here, look, let me go to the AP story for what's going on in Texas right now, and we'll compare it to how they reported it, because I think you'll see what this is really all about. It says, a child who wasn't vaccinated died in a measles outbreak in rural West Texas, state officials said Wednesday, the first U.S. death from the highly contagious respiratory disease since 2015. School-aged children had been hospitalized, died Tuesday night amid the widespread outbreak. Texas' largest in 30 years. Since it began last month, a rash of 124 cases had erupted across 9 counties. Now, they bring up RFK, the nation's top health official and vaccine critic. They also bring up the fact that this is in a religious situation. You know, those dumb old Christians don't listen to science, getting their kids killed. If only they listen to the experts. Because check this out. I love this one sentence here. Like, my God, did Rachel Maddow write this? It says, the virus has largely spread among rural, oil rig dotted towns in West Texas, with cases concentrated in a close-knit, under-vaccinated Mennonite community. Health Department spokesman so-and-so said in Gaines County. Gaines County, which has reported 80 cases so far, has a strong homeschooling and private school community. Also, one of the highest rates of school-aged children in Texas who have opted out of at least one required vaccine, with nearly 14% skipping a required dose last school year. So they managed to squeeze in all of these qualifiers and all these modifiers and all these adjectives that really don't belong there. What does it matter if it's in an oil rig dotted town? What does it matter if they're urban or rural? What does it matter if not only we know they're Christian, we know the specific denomination? Because they hate all those things. They hate rural America. They hate the oil industry and the people that work in it. They hate Christians, or at least Christians that actually follow through with their principles and live a Christian lifestyle. They hate people who homeschool. They hate people in private schools. So they managed to tie all of these things around the unvaccinated measles outbreak. But in the AP article last year, when we had almost as many, over 60 people in an illegal immigrant shelter, guess how many times the word illegal was used in this whole article from the AP that's like 15 paragraphs long? That's right, 0. 0. It doesn't even come up. Why? Well, because they don't want to have to tell information that could possibly make the general public think less about their preferred protected class. I mean, you can't even find the word immigrant in here. They just use the word migrant. Like they're just going from point A to point B. They weren't coming from another country and stopping here, which would make them illegal immigrants. No, they're just on the move, staying in a shelter for a long period of time. But yeah, other than that, so we don't have the word illegal in there, and we don't get the word immigrant in there. Does it mention their immigration status? Does it mention the fact that illegal immigrants are more likely than the general population to not have their full schedule of vaccines? Don't you think that's important medical information to include in a medical story like this? Or don't you at least recognize it was so important that they had to report it in the Texas case, but not in the Chicago illegal immigrant shelter case? So there's some selective reporting going on here. This is just a great excuse for them to put out information that makes people suspicious, especially urban people in a Team Blue bubble, to be suspicious of people in the oil industry, to be suspicious of Christian communities, homeschoolers, private schoolers, anti-vaxxers, all that. But they don't even mention any of these. So it just follows another pattern you'll see. Yeah, a kid died of measles, and that's absolutely terrible. But is it really a national newsworthy story? One kid died. Why does it get plastered all across headlines? Here's the other question. Have you ever seen the national headline? Have you ever even seen it in the Dallas Morning News about the girl who died from the botched abortion? Without getting into any specifics, does it never happen? Of course, it happens every year. Does it ever get reported on? No, it doesn't. Because the point of the news isn't to keep you safe. The point of the news isn't to have you up to date on these medical issues that could have a negative effect on you. It's all political, baby. It is all about, let me report on this story if and only if it's the narrative, if and only if it makes my political allies look good or my political opposition look bad. Oh, they'll report on every kid that's accidentally killed in playing with a firearm. Oh, some kids were goofing around with a gun and he accidentally shot his friend. But never the botched abortion case? Not one? Never? It's never newsworthy. That's interesting, because if that's the case, then you're not really concerned about the suffering or the safety of little kids. You're just exploiting the suffering and death of children for your political agenda. Nice job, media. Real ghoulish stuff. Coming up next, Sarah Gonzalez from the Blaze TV. More protests are happening in Dallas, and she's the one that likes to throw herself in the middle of it. She's a fun one. Stick around. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.